Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to some Sports Talk in the Burgh, the first Sports Talk in the Burgh this semester. I am Sam Anthony. As always, alongside me is Ian Kist, and new to the Sports Talk in the Burgh family is our very own Logan Carney. Logan, excited to be on the show today?
Of course I am. Wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
We went to the same high school.
That's great. I'm very happy for you. I'm sorry I didn't. I ruined that vibe for you, but I'm gonna start with the show here. So we're gonna start with some Robert Morris football. A team that produced one of the worst offenses in college football last season comes back with a brand new quarterback in Jimmy Walker, the return of running back Cole Blake, and a make-or-break field for head coach John Banaszak in what should the expectations be, rather, for the Colonials after a horrendous 2-9 season last year.
You know, I actually have Robert Morris football finishing around 500, either 6-5 or 5-6.
You got some high expectations there.
I do, and I have some reasons why. Coach John Banaszak is in his 4th season.
Yeah.
All right. When it comes in college football, these are your players when you get to your 3rd or 4th season. When you get to your 3rd and 4th season, that's when you're on, as people like to say, your job's on the line. Coach John Banaszak, these are his players. He has no more excuses. The team is healthy and more matured than last year as well. And, we talked about a lot last year, especially with Mike Miller coming in.
So I have
the offense is 1 year with him.
Here's my question for you is, then why didn't we see improvement? Because with that logic, every year should be some level of improvement.
Yeah.
But they still haven't gotten any better. It was 1 win, and then 3 wins, and then 2 wins. It was back
Lost
down.
to a D2
they
school
had
last year,
the
too.
worst total offense in all of college football. How does that happen when it's your team? That doesn't show me that there's improvement.
Well, it's because it fully wasn't his team. Now you can finally
it was mostly
say,
his team.
Yeah, it was mostly. I'm not going to deny you there.
And he's
but
been
this
here
is fully
too.
his team. Now it's fully his players. These are all his players. These are all the guys that he developed. This is the team that he's designed.
But I also like to think that we would have saw a little more last year as well. And that was his worst year. It was 2-9. Lost to Alderson Broadus the first game. A game that they brought him here to win. And we lost. And that just set the tone for the entire season. And now this is why we're talking about last season. After RMU's 13-10 thrilling late second victory over the University of Dayton this past Saturday, their first 1-0 start since the 2008 season. Is it a big deal for this 2017 squad, and was the win a prediction of how the season is going to go for the Colonials?
Ian, this is huge. In terms, and I'm going to say this, in terms of confidence for the team. I'm not saying that this is huge, that Robert Morris football is going to win the NEC, because they are not going to win the NEC by any means. They still have room to grow. And if you watched that game, like I watched the game, and like Ian watched the game, and like you watched the game, there were so many points that they could have lost that game. There were mistakes that were made. They gave Dayton phenomenal field position.
Errors.
And while it's great that it was their first win in 17 seasons, they looked significantly better. Jimmy Walker looked like a real quarterback for that team.
They look crisp.
It's confidence-wise going in, knowing that you can beat these teams despite the things that go wrong. But just in the sake of, for now, it's a huge confidence.
For once, I'm actually going to agree with you on something. Now, it is a huge. We are 1 for 2. It is a huge, huge win. And, we like to say, start off the year strong. It gives us hope for actually, a good season. Like I said, I have this team pegged for around 500. Not even numbers of games, so obviously it's either going to be 1 less or 1 above. But they haven't beaten Dayton in 17 years. Dayton was 9-2 last year, haven't had a losing season since 2006, and they only gave up 10 points to a team that hasn't been shut out since 1976.
Let's also be clear here. We're talking about great Dayton is they've only made the playoffs once ever. So we're not talking about a perennial team like North Dakota State. We're not talking about a team like Youngstown State who are going to play next week. Those teams are phenomenal. If Robert Morris went and upset one of those teams, I would be talking about them winning the conference.
You know what we are talking about? A good football team that
we're
Robert Morris
talking about
beat.
An average football.
An average team that went 9-2. This is a good team, no matter how you look at it.
Our games against Dayton the past 2 years have been close, especially 2 years ago, my sophomore year. But they looked, like me and Sam, we were on the call, that they looked like a football team during the pregame. They looked crisp, and this is what this team was different from the previous season. I think that is why they were able to come out to win. They stayed level-headed during some miscues in the game, and that's different from what we've seen from this Colonial squad.
We're going to stay here with football. During the offseason, Coach John Banaszak decided to make San Diego State transfer quarterback Jimmy Walker the starter over constantly injured Matthew Barr, who was moved to wide receiver. Now seeing Walker play against Dayton, was it the right move to make him the starting quarterback?
So there's a caveat with that, because was it the right move? Yes. Looking at Barr's stats from 2 years ago when he played, There was only one game where he threw more passing yards than Jimmy Walker did in week 1. But Jimmy Walker did not dazzle me. You take away that 172-yard touchdown throw, he had 1 interception, 126 yards, and that was it. He had 5 passing yards in the first quarter. It was an okay performance. Was it the right call? Yes. But I want to see more from the quarterback.
I agree with you, and I like to use the term, I call this the Tim Tebow effect. The Tim Tebow effect is, he's not going to be a spectacular quarterback. We don't need him to be. He's just going to be good enough with the pieces that he is. They won with a good defense. He was 14-29 with 198 yards and a touchdown. That is good enough with a team built on the run and a team built with the defense. Tim Tebow effect. I'm going to coin that phrase now.
Okay, well, I'm a stats person, and he was 14 of 29, which is below 500 for the day. Now, he was a mental guy in that game. He was able to hit his targets, thread the needle. He was able to dodge traffic. He was that mental guy that we didn't see in Burgh. Also, I credit the offensive line, but when the offensive line let him down, Walker was that guy who had that experience in there from San Diego State, and what we haven't seen in Burgh in the previous 5 quarterbacks they used last year. That is why I think Walker, I think it's beyond the stats.
I think, like you said, the way he moved in the pocket was phenomenal. My one question is with that interception. He was under pressure, and he lobbed this ball up where there was no Robert Morris receivers there, and it was an easy interception for Dayton. And those mistakes cannot happen in a game. That was sloppy play.
But to me, that was the only thing that I can circle that I didn't like from him,
but
honestly.
He didn't dazzle me either.
Yeah, you're right. He wasn't dazzling.
He doesn't need to dazzle. The average, TJ Neal averaged 5 yards per carry on Saturday. Cole Blake averaged 4.3 yards per carry. He doesn't need to dazzle. He just needs to be good enough.
No,
if
because
he
the
can
way
be good
Robert
enough
Morris did
in
the
the
running game,
defense and run game wins, then they will win.
All right, well, I have a lot more to say, but we're going to stop here and move on to men's soccer. Before the start of the men's soccer season, men's soccer star Lucas Pontillo made the decision to leave Robert Morris and pursue a professional career despite his struggles last season. Will the absence be a negative or positive influence on this team?
I like to use the term star. He had 4 goals. His impact's going to be meh. It's not going to be felt. They didn't score with him. They're not going to score without him.
Here's your problem, though.
They had 13 goals. 13 goals last year. He had 4 last year.
You looked at Pontillo last year. What about the year before that when he was number 2 to Nico Brett, who was arguably the greatest player to ever come out of
well, how are we assuming that his first year is his good year? Why don't we just say his first year was a surprising year and his last year is how he actually is? We don't know. We only saw 2 years out of him.
Exactly, though. But
as
you
far
can say
as
it
a
the
team
other way
from a year-to-year basis, he doesn't make a difference.
How do you know that he wasn't going to come this year? It was the first year without Brett. It was a year they had to figure out who was going to be the contributors, how they were going to work together without Nico Brett. How did you know that this wasn't going to be the year that Keem McIver, Raphael Bruce-Wall, and Lucas Pontillo figured it out together? Because they didn't figure it out last
year. They had a 5-game streak during the end of the year where they didn't score a single goal. They didn't figure it out towards the end of the year. They were actually better at the beginning of the year scoring goals.
But how can you blame that directly on Pontillo? You can't associate his direct
You use the term star, right? We always blame the stars.
Exactly, but he's not the
NBA
only star
Finals.
on
If
that
LeBron
team.
loses, we blame LeBron.
There's more than one star on this team. Are you saying that you can't blame Winter Fun? You can't blame the coach? Because people blame Tyronn Lue just as much as they blame LeBron James.
I'm just saying the impact is meh. It's not going to be felt. They're not going to notice him there. They're not going to notice him without him.
Because right now they're not winning without him.
They didn't win with him.
I don't think he's going to be that big of a miss. Honestly, that's all I'm going to have on that one. RMU men's hockey coach Dare Schooley was given a contract extension through the 2022-2023 season, announced exactly 3 weeks ago today. Is Schooley the right man for the men's hockey program moving forward, gentlemen?
You can go first on this one. I'll let you go.
Of course he is. Of course it was the right idea.
See,
I don't see why you can't. He hasn't had a losing season since 2009-2010. He's 2 years removed from tying the program's all-time winning records. The same year they beat three top 15 programs. They also beat a top 15 program last year. There's no reason not to extend him. He's a coach that wins.
I have a question. Do you think Marv Lewis for the Cincinnati Bengals is a good coach?
Ooh, I like that.
Do you think he's a good coach?
I think he's good enough.
See, once again, with the word good enough.
But it's
different. Do you want to make the playoffs?
You're comparing apples to oranges.
No, I'm not.
Marv Lewis doesn't beat the top teams in the league.
Derek Schooley gets to the championship game every year in the conference and loses. And you know what? That doesn't matter. He's as relevant as someone who loses in the first round or doesn't make it. If you don't make it to the NCAA tournament, it doesn't matter. And he's done it once in 12 years.
All right, if you're going to compare it to that, why don't we compare it to another college team? Why don't we compare it to Pitt basketball after Jamie Dixon left? All right, Jamie Dixon was the same way. Always had great regular seasons. They got to the playoffs, and they lost. The program is in shambles over there. All right, and that's more
He
relevant
still
because
made
that's
more
college.
NCAA tournaments than Derek Schooley did.
Derek Schooley also beat
They're
more
also
top
in a lot-
15 teams.
They're also in a lot tougher conference. Because think about it, Derek Schooley doesn't win the games that he should. Great, you beat an Ohio State, you beat a Michigan, you beat a Penn State. That's great.
I just think he's building a culture here, and the extension doesn't surprise me. Maybe a little too long, but I don't think Derek Schooley is going to go anywhere, which also makes me think that he's satisfied in his career staying at Robert Morris, where I think he actually could go to a bigger school, honestly.
If he stays at Robert Morris, they will not go to a game.
Yeah.
But we're going to go to a quick break here on Sports Talk in the Burgh. But when we come back, we're going to talk some Killer Bees, Ben, Bell, and Bryant, as football season inches closer and closer. So you aren't going to want to miss it here on Sports Talk in the Burgh. We'll be right back.
So I just moved in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. After the disappointing loss to the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship last season, Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger hinted at a possible early retirement. How legitimate are his threats, and do you think this season is Ben's last chance to win a Super Bowl?
This is
No.
I'll let you go.
He's going to play at least, obviously, this season and next season. I think if they don't win the Super Bowl after next season, I think he's done. I think his wife has too much say. She wants him to remember his kids and everything. She brought CT into the consideration. But I think this is the year that I think they're going to win a Super Bowl. I honestly think they're going to make it to this year, lose, and then win next year, and then bye-bye Ben. But I don't think he's going anywhere for 2 seasons.
So I think this is a more complex issue than it actually is, because the reason they lost last year to the Patriots was they had a terrible secondary. You guys don't disagree with me that their secondary was just horrible.
Oh, no,
last
it's
year,
terrible.
Right? It was bad, and so Tom Brady took advantage of the fact that they couldn't do man coverage, that they could only do zone. And so it was zone and not man. So he just picked the zones. And so now Ben Roethlisberger was upset because they weren't putting anybody around him. And now they go get Joe Hayden, they go get J.J. Wilcox. I think they made the moves to say, hey, Ben, we're serious. Stay with us 3 more years.
Yeah, and then guess what? How long they signed Joe Hayden? 3 years.
3 years.
Guess how many years are left on Ben's contract?
3
3
years.
years. Ben's not going to go anywhere. I never denied, I never thought for a second that Ben was actually serious about retirement.
You know why
he
he
has
said
too
it?
much money. There's too good of even when they lost last year, there was still too good of a roster. They're still at the very least, the second best team in the AFC.
I agree with that
Even
fully.
without getting Joe Hayden, they're still the second best
He
team
said
in the AFC.
he can think about retirement because he can. Anybody can think about retirement. It's the only reason why he said it.
All right, guys, we're going to move on from Ben Roethlisberger to Le'Veon Bell, who's arguably one of the most important pieces on the Steelers team besides Ben Roethlisberger. Bell spent his summer negotiations with the team until they ultimately fell through, and Bell was franchise tagged. After the most recent negotiations, do you guys believe that Bell will stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers or move on to another team?
Well,
He's staying.
Yeah, Bell's not going to go anywhere. They're just going to franchise tag.
They're
him
going to give him
again.
his. If he gets paid, stays away from injury season, doesn't do anything illegal, I think they're going to give him the money he deserves.
You want to know where he's going to go?
Kansas
The
City.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I heard
$45 million in cap space. Doug Martin's contract expiring. They're a team that's improving. Bell's going to want to go to a team that is going to win. And wherever he goes, he's going to give them a better chance of winning. And with Jameis Winston, a quarterback who is a Ben Roethlisberger-sized quarterback, the same type of player, but younger, it's a perfect switch for a team that also has some quality receivers in Mike Evans.
But he's not going to leave. They're just going to franchise tag him. They're not going to let him leave. They're not going to sign him to a long-term deal. I don't think he's going
You know
to
how much money they would have to pay him to franchise tag him? It would cost more to franchise tag him next year than to give him the money he wants.
Well, they're still going to do it.
They will not
I have a
do
gut
it.
feeling that they will.
Why would they do it? Why would that
They're
make
not going to
sense?
give him the money that he's looking
They
for.
don't have the
they're
money
not going
to
give
do
him
it.
$17 million. They're not going to do that.
If they're going to do that, they're going to have to give up on some other players.
I honestly think this was a publicity stunt by Bell. I think he's going to stay. I think they're going to give him the money. The Steelers know that they need him. Ben is going to have a lot of impact in that. It's like LeBron James. Ben's going to be the one to say, sign him, give him the money he deserves. And I don't know, you can say Bell's a little selfish, which makes me think it's a publicity stunt because he could have signed a decent contract in the offseason, in the summer. But I think Bell's staying. I don't think he's going anywhere. I really don't. Sticking with the Steelers, Steeler wide receiver Martavis Bryant is fully reinstated to the league and is cleared to play in games this season. Will he stay clean of illegal drug use and be an impact player for the Steelers this season?
Look, I'm not going to promise that he stays clean because personally, I don't know what goes on in his head. I don't understand why an NFL player, not just
He has
Bryant.
health issues.
Yeah, I don't
That's
understand
what he
why they
puts
would
it on.
risk their money by smoking, marijuana. I don't understand why somebody would do that when they're making millions and millions of dollars. Do I think he'll help? I think he will if he stays on the field. He'll help, not early on. He's still got time to adjust. He was a year away from football, all right? He'll help once he gets towards the postseason when they face teams that are going to be trying to double up on Brown and they're going to go deep to Martavis Bryant because he has that kind of speed. He has that kind of being speed.
hold on.
He just needs
I
to
wanna
figure
go
things out.
back.
He's a threat, though. He's going to get double teamed.
So what you're telling me is that just during his suspension, he just sat around and did nothing. That he's going to need time to get back to the level he was at.
I never once
No.
said that.
But that's what you're telling me. You're telling me he's not going to come back to the
hinted
same
He
level.
didn't play an
You
NFL
hinted
game.
to it.
That's
He didn't play
fine.
an NFL
That's
game.
fine. His game was his speed and
Le'Veon
his
Bell didn't
hands.
play an NFL
You don't
game
need
either.
NFL play for that.
Le'Veon Bell didn't take a whole year off.
Well, true, but he's an athlete. Martavis Bryant's an athlete.
He is an
He's
athlete.
going to come back. The only thing that's going to hold him back is he says it's because he smokes marijuana because of his depression. Now, depression is very serious, so we'll see if it's health issues, if that will actually prevent him from
I will
another
say
suspensions.
the best part of having Brian on for Brian to be on the Pittsburgh Steelers is the kind of organization they have, the culture that they are, because those guys, that management, players, coaches, they're going to make sure that he stays clean and he stays honest. And you're right, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen, but if there's a place for it to happen, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Not too long ago, the Steelers did something they usually don't and signed arguably the best free agent on the market in cornerback Joe Hayden. The deal was for 3 years and $27 million, with $7 million coming this season. How much of an impact will he bring to a young and improving defense, and is he the player that can finally put the Steelers past the Patriots in the AFC?
I think it's a great move, and I think that if the Steelers want to be the team that can beat the New England Patriots, it was the kind of move that they need to make. But for one player to put them from where they were last year in that blowout loss to beating the New England Patriots, I think that is a huge stretch. I think it'll help. I think his leadership will help, but they still have no size in the secondary, besides Artie Burns, who is inexperienced. So I think there's still a little bit of room to grow.
I think the only thing really helps is he's going to be a coach on the field. I think he can obviously bring his experience from Cleveland. I think you're going from a C plus to a low B minus in the secondary, but the secondary can't get worse.
No, and
It
the
can't.
move to get Wilcox was even better because now you have that.
Now you're
depth
showing
and
you're full in.
Exactly. They're making that move, but I still don't think they're good enough to the
See,
Patriots.
I'm gonna disagree with you guys there. Believe it or not, the Steelers were actually my Super Bowl pick before the Joe Hayden signing. The Steelers defense it doesn't pass the eye test by any means. But it actually was not nearly as bad as everybody makes out to be. They were 12th in the league in total defense, which is right in the middle of the pack. With their offense, with how good it is, that's good enough to get to the Super Bowl. And that's not even considering how drastically they improved during their 11-game winning streak last year, which they improved a lot, and it was mainly because of how much the defense improved.
So, great, you know the Steelers. Have you ever looked at the New England Patriots? Because not only did they have one of the best offenses, which now they got Brandon Cooks. I know they lost Julian Edelman, but they had one of the best scoring defenses. It was only behind the Houston Texans as the second best scoring defense. Their defense is way better than the Pittsburgh Steelers, not only besides their offense.
Do not go anywhere, because after the break, we will dive into the Pittsburgh Pirates saga and what they should do in the postseason regarding their center fielder and the recent contract signing of manager Clint Hurdle. Sam will also give us his final thoughts. Stay tuned.
Did you know parking over tall, dry grass can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow?
No.
Snow-covered trees.
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones.
Don't even.
And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. We're moving on to the Pittsburgh Pirates with their chances of a postseason berth almost non-existent, and now a struggling Andrew McCutchen. Many fans and analysts are looking back to the trade deadline, back to when outfielder Andrew McCutchen was putting up some of his best numbers in the past 2 years. Now that his stats have dropped and the Pirates season is practically over, do you believe the Pirates should have made the decision to trade Kutch back in July, or do you think the team should still stand by their decision?
Well, I'm not going to say that they should stand by their decision, because they tried to trade him and failed. Their decision was to trade him, and they failed.
They didn't get what they wanted for him.
Which I think was smart.
They should not have traded McCutchen. They shouldn't have. And I got a couple of reasons why. They're already losing the fan base, all right? They were 18th last year. They're 25th this year. They would have lost more fans. They would have lost more money. So from a financial standpoint, everyone says, oh, he's making $12 million. It doesn't make sense, all right? And his value last year was the lowest of his career. You may say his numbers are declining, but it's still better than last year. 256 batting average, lowest stolen base total, career highest Ks. He was a defensive liability, even worse last year than he was this
He's
year.
still a defensive
lowest
liability.
on base percentage of his career, lowest slugging percentage all last year.
So you're saying your logic is he's not horrible, he's just like less bad. That's the logic you're giving me here. Because they should have shipped him away. They should have known that this was going to come back.
He's still a good player.
No, he's not. Have you seen the last 30 games where he's been batting under 200? You can't consider that a good player. You can't
Everyone
consider
goes
that
through bad
good.
stretches.
Yeah, and he's
going through like months of bad stretches. When that can't happen, you had 2013 Kutch here in July, and then August happened. You had 2016
He's
Kutch.
exactly right. Look, he was bad.
Give me
most
the biggest
of the year.
headache.
He hits right before the All-Star break.
If you trade him last year,
He's
if you
too
trade him last
much-
year, he would not have gotten.
He's
this
too
much.
much of a problem.
You trade him this year, he will get more.
Exactly.
We're not arguing whether they trade him this off season. If you remember the question, we were arguing if they would have traded him last off season.
No, we're arguing whether they should have traded him back in July. That was the question. And the answer is yes, they should have. They should have gotten rid of him for anything, because now they can't get anything for him.
Yesterday, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette announced a 4-year extension for manager Clint Hurdle. Today, it was announced that Neil Huntington will also receive a 4-year extension. Given these past 2 season struggles, and also considering their success with the Pirates, do you guys feel if it was the right move to extend both of them 4 more years?
Yay, they signed him. Yay. Oh, my God. We're going to have another 4 years of what we've been dealing with forever here, guys. 7 years with Clint Hurdle. Yes, he was good the first 3 seasons, but 4 seasons. What has he done now? Nothing. He's a boring guy. Neil Huntington. I don't put on Huntington because his hands are he's handcuffed because of who runs the team, which was nutty.
So what you're telling me is you're going to give Huntington, you're not going to say anything is Huntington's fault, but you're going to put more blame on Hurdle?
Yes.
Have you seen the teams that he has been handed?
He doesn't manage the games.
John Jaso,
he doesn't manage
Chris
the games.
Stewart. Those are the guys that he has to
Work
put
with
out.
who you have. Be a coach. Work with who you have.
That is who. He doesn't have anything.
Make John Jaso great again.
You're going to
Okay,
give the guy
teach him.
that has
Coach him.
tie behind his back.
Coach him.
You're both wrong. You're both wrong because neither of them are to blame. You can't blame them for what they've had. In the past 17 years, there's only been one team that's been constantly in the bottom 4th of payroll, and that's Pittsburgh Pirates. Even the Cleveland Indians at one point had a high payroll. That's where they are now. No one has ever given the Pirates money.
I also think 4 years is too much.
Their entire game is finding things in statistics that other people can't find. And when you find them one year, everyone else uses them the next.
Guess what,
They're
Sam?
a year-to-year team. You
Guess
can't
what, Sam?
find
It hasn't been working the past 2 years.
You can't find that diamond in the
hasn't
rough
been working.
every year. How can
Then
you
you
find
adjust.
that?
I think it's all
They're
nutty.
trying to adjust.
They're
They're
trying.
sorts of
They're
things.
trying. Who did they get when Marte went down? Who did they get after Gong went down? Who did they get when Plaga went
With
down?
what money?
How is that trying?
With what money?
With the money that Marte
they
was,
had money.
with the money that Gong was.
They always
saved money
they
on
always
Marte.
have these
Invested a
trades to
year
save
that's
money, and they
already
never
lost.
use their money.
Already
year's-
lost. They were 2 games out at the trade deadline. They
Yes,
were 3
they were
games out
still
on
a
August
bad
10th.
team. They were still under
3 games
500.
It doesn't matter. They couldn't
Yes,
make the
it
playoffs.
does.
Well, we better
Great,
watch.
and you
couldn't make
lose
the
in the
playoffs.
first round.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
lose
The
in first
Royals won
round.
with the wild card.
Yeah, the Royals were at least a good team. They had a great bullpen. They had speed. What do the Pirates have?
But nobody
They have
expected
Andrew
them until they
McCutcheon,
got
a
there.
274
You
hitter.
know what they beat? A 98
When
team.
the Pirates play the Red Sox, they should watch their Apple watches too.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I'm gonna take a breather here, and then we're gonna go to my final take here, guys. So on this past Saturday, Robert Morris football completed what I consider one of their most stunning and shocking upset victories in the past decade, as John Banaszak and company defeated the Dayton Flyers for the first time in 17 years. And while this is exciting, I say, so what? Why should one win matter on such colossal circumstances that now Colonials fans believe they can defeat the national runners-up in Youngstown State, the same team that defeated the Colonials 38-6 last season? It's improbable, it's unlikely, and it's incoherent that you can even think that. Now, by no means am I saying this victory is not an incredible achievement for a team that really struggled to find its identity and establish a winning culture since their last playoff appearance in 2010. I'm saying that this victory is simply the start. And what matters is what Colonial football does next. It is to understand that there are still obstacles in the road. It is to understand that there were plenty of chances for Dayton to win, and that game, and that is the only thing that this win has convinced me of, is that this team is an improvement from the abomination of a team that was 2-9 and had the worst offense in all of college football. The road is still long ahead, Robert Morris Colonials fans. There's still work to be done. The pieces are starting to fall into place, but this puzzle is nowhere near complete. Do not expect perfection. Do not expect domination. Do not even expect a winning season. Simply expect improvement. Know that your team is on the right track, and they have started to put together their own winning formula, a formula that will have to go through trial and error over and over and over again. But for the first time in a long time for Robert Morris, there's a glimpse of what there is to come, a glimpse of something greater than a 5-win season, a playoff berth that leads to a first-round loss. It is waiting there in the wings. You will just have to be patient. I will leave you with a quote from legendary head coach John Wooden, who says, "It takes time to create excellence. If it could be done quickly, more people would do it." This is why it's not an easy path. It's not a quick path. But finally, Robert Morris is on the right path. And on that note, that's all we have left on today's show. Thank you all for tuning in, and please tune in 2 weeks from now for some more sports talk in the Burgh.